Right, so today will be an introduction to mental models, and this would be a really, life-changing sort of module and concept that you learn that would really help, you and your entire life for the rest of your life, as well as your family, your friends, your loved ones, and all. So, what are mental models? Mental models are logical frameworks and lens to view the world. And the world has too much information processed. If you Google, every single day there are like a billion sort of, data points and information that we got to process. That's why you see that, humans have a lot of knee-jerk reactions, that happens at a subconscious level or at the unconscious level. Let's say like you see a very fierce dog coming at you, you don't have to think twice. Your body, naturally wants to avoid or run away from it. So this is like, tangent sort of examples, and mental models are shortcuts and heuristics for us to make decisions quickly. Otherwise, there'll be too much of information to process on a daily basis, especially when you're making important decisions, especially in business, more so than in life. But one thing that we gotta take precaution is it can backfire. For example, judging someone too quickly. For example, we see someone like wearing a very basic t-shirt, or someone dressing very sloppy, not shaved and stuff. Then we automatically, maybe assume that they're poor, that they are untidy and whatnot. But maybe they could be a undercover secret billionaire. Where somebody who like dresses really nice and stuff, most people think like, oh, this person must be really successful, must be really rich and stuff. But maybe they're just, doing fine, and they just like, dress well to impress. So it could backfire and help you make wrong decisions. Why do you want mental models? You want mental models so that you can view the world accurately. And this is very, very important. One thing that, I hold really true and sacred in my life is that the truth of life, no matter how painful, no matter how we don't want to believe, the truth of life, when you discover a truth of life, truth should always, take precedence over everything else. You should always honor the truth. And that's how you live a great life, so that you don't, we don't live in our own delusional world thinking, oh, this is how we think the world works, but actually view the world as the way it is, rather than what we think the world is according to our own limited philosophy. For example, this is another big one as well, disliking someone just from a short clip. In a world where, there's a lot of like TikTok, like 1 minute, 30-second clips and stuff. Let's say, you've never seen, this like influencer before, and all you saw is this like 30-second clip where this person said something outlandish. Maybe it was taken out of context, and we immediately draw a conclusion that, oh, maybe this person is really evil, is not a good person, this and that, maybe this person is like sexist, racist, whatever. But this is how we catch ourselves to not, be like the majority of people. Majority of people in this world live life in delusion. They live life not seeing the truth, not seeing the world for what it actually is. They only see the world according to their ignorant, sort of limited point of view. And if you want to be, financially successful, you want to be spiritually successful, you want to be healthy, whatever, you must, go to and seek the truth. Always find the truth. Seek the truth. So other things that can backfire, that mental models can be categorized, it's biases. For example, we have a bias for, and that's where, discrimination, like racism comes in. Phobias, let's say we got bitten by a dog, then we think all dogs are out to bite us, for example. Or prejudice from past experience. For example, let's say a certain type of people, did us wrong, then we, classify all the people that looks like this or behave a certain way to be not good people, which can be inaccurate. Like one human does not represent the entire race of billions of people of their own race. So racism is a big one. Just because, like, for example, somebody got robbed by a certain race or whatever, or maybe when they grow up, when they're growing up, they got bullied by a certain type of people or a certain type of race or whatever, then you think like, everyone like that is bad or this and that, which is inaccurate, you know. So let's go and dive right into a list of mental models from the internet before I give you like my personal ones, that I find really helpful. But I think if you just Google mental models, there's a lot to learn, and let's go through some of them. Okay, so you just Google, example of mental models, you can find a lot of it. And Google searching something, that's a mental model in itself, Nowadays, if you have the ability of knowing how to Google something with advanced sort of Google research, that can literally change your life. This mental model of like knowing how to use Google, anything that you're unsure of and stuff. Let's say, you're debating with your, family or friends regarding like whether this food is healthy or not. Normal human, most people think like, oh, most people think they're right, or maybe their friend is right, according to how convincing or how they talk, which is inaccurate and most people fall for, Just because somebody is convincing, it has nothing to do with the truth, That's just their personal conviction. But if you go to Google, you know how to research and stuff, that's how you discover the truth, okay? So let's go through some of them. Confirmation bias. Let's say, yeah, this is a good one, A lot of people, when you can see, let's say they have this existing belief in the past about something. Let's take the president, let's say like somebody in the past, someone told them that, oh, this candidate is like not a good person. Then they just keep finding information to confirm that, oh, this presidential candidate is not a good person, rather than finding the opposite sort of information that might be the total opposite, rather than finding the information that shows that this president, is a good person, is a good person. They try to find information where this president is not a good person. That's an example of confirmation bias, which can be very dangerous. And that's why you see like a lot of billionaires or a lot of very smart people, there's this term called steel man and straw man, So steel man is, and even Charlie Munger, former billionaire, who passed away, partner of Warren Buffett, said that, you should never have a conclusion about something until you can argue the counter side even better than they can. So example, you don't like a certain political party, you're not allowed to have a conclusion or judgment until you're able to argue the other side better than the opposing party can. So that's a great mental model to have, You can see this is how very smart and wise people think to see the world, accurately and to see the truth. Let's see this. Okay, these are a bit more advanced ones. Let's go to more simple ones. Okay, law of diminishing returns. Good example is with anything in life, everything in life has a balance, Let's say, we're lacking nutrition. We got to eat to a certain point, but if we overeat, that has diminishing returns, and that's, even counterproductive, Let's say like we drink water, we need a certain amount of water every single day, but, there was this lady who drank too much of water and passed away from it, Or for example, money, there's a lot of studies that shows that, up to a certain point, money do in fact affect our happiness, but beyond that, there's diminishing returns, but people don't know that, or they are not aware of that. They think, oh, the more money, I got to be a billionaire for I be happy and stuff, which is inaccurate. So margin of safety. Yep. So for example, especially in business, let's say, you're taking a risk on certain stuff. Let's say, let's see the example here. Yep. Let's say, you're spending like $100 on something, but the margin of error, let's say your total budget to spend something is, let's say you're on your last $100, it would be very careless and unwise for you to maybe spend the entire $100. Maybe a margin of error is spending the $80 and at least having that $20 saved up in case you have an emergency, you know? So that's just a very simplistic example. Circle of competence, which this is really a really good one. A lot of people, and this is very true, you know, let's say you see like this boxer, you know, who's really good at their sport, or you see these basketball guy who's really good at their specific sport. That's their circle of competence, you know. But just because that they think they are good at a certain sport, that means they think, you know, they can dominate any other sport. That is inaccurate. And, you know, I think even Michael Jordan faced that, you know, he was really good at basketball, then he took time off to play basketball. Sorry, he was really good, you know, he's a really good basketball player, then he took some time off to play baseball. It didn't turn out as he expected, then he returned to basketball, you know. So this is the same with anything, you know, especially when people who get really arrogant or really overconfident, let's say, you know, they're like a health expert on, let's say, a certain diet, then you think they're a health expert on every single thing, you know, without doing proper research. Or a common example of, you know, let's say somebody, you know, is very good at making money, they're really good in business, then they automatically think that, you know, they know everything about anything, you know, versus, let's say, like a PhD professor who spent, you know, 10 years of their life on a certain topic. They definitely know better than anyone else on that particular topic, you know. Yep, that's one mental model on our memory, that human memory is not accurate, you know. So knowing that human memory is not accurate, we cannot think that, oh, just because I remember something in a certain way that might be true, you know. When something has passed for 5-10 years, maybe a year, you know, there's this thing called selective memory, you know, like some people choose to think that their memory is accurate when it's not, and that's not a good way to live, you know, because we are living in our own delusional world. So knowing that human memory can be inaccurate, that's a great mental model to have. You know, jealousy tendency, and this is not good. Being jealous to people, it will only affect yourself, you know. Rather than being jealous of someone, think, how can I learn from this person, you know, and how can I see the good in other people rather than seeing the flaw in other people. Pareto principle, this is the 80-20 rule, which is very accurate, you know, that, let's say in business, you know, 80% of your effort, 80% of the results come from 20% of your effort. The inversion rule, which is, let's say, you know, you want to know like how to live until 100 years old. On top of asking yourself, how can you live to 100 years old, ask yourself, what can you do to live shorter, you know? For example, lack of sleep, not exercising, so just do the opposite of that. Yep, incentive, for example, you know, you have, you know, kids and you want them to behave in a certain way, you gotta incentivize them, because people move towards rewards and they move away from pain. Yep, this is another really powerful mental model as well. Rather than seeing the world in black and white, see the world in probabilities. And there are many examples on this. For example, you know, let's say, you know, you just met somebody and you're not sure of their intentions. Let's say on your first meeting up with them, or could be even a date, they show a lot of red flags, you know, some red flags. Rather than categorizing them as good or bad, you know, yay or nay, put in a probability ratio, like, okay, maybe this person's like 70% like up to no good, but I'll still give him a little benefit of doubt. And with more data, then I'm able to make a more accurate decision. Because some people, like, they interpret certain things as red flags, whereas it could just be like miscommunication, misinterpretation, you know? and they think, oh, this person is a bad person, when actually you're not, you know. So seeing the world in probabilities, that's a good one as well. So just Google mental models, you know, you can go through so many of them. This would honestly change your life. If you have time, you should just like read all of them, you know. All these are great, you know, great ones. Yep, like opportunity cost. So for example, in business, like some people think like, oh, if I, for example, like opportunity cost is like, some people only think, oh, if I take up this side job, you know, if I take up this side job, I'll make this amount of money. But they didn't think of the opportunity cost that, okay, the opportunity cost, maybe if I do not, you know, spend time, maybe if I don't take this side hustle, maybe I don't take this side job, I might not make money quicker right now in the short term. But if I work on my side hustle, that would make me more money, but it just takes more time, you know. So understanding opportunity cost, it's really important as well. Yep, a lot of mental models that you can just go through. We can go through this for hours and hours, but I just want to introduce you, and rather than giving you the fish, I'll give you the fish, but I want to teach you how to fish as well, you know. So knowing that you have the mental model of knowing how to Google search everything, that would help you a lot in life. Yep, first principles thinking as well. This is a very important one as well. That, you know, you can break every complex problem down to its fundamentals and really see the world, you know, at a more very, you know, good perspective. For example, like Elon Musk, you know, before he started Tesla and SpaceX, you know, he asked like, oh, why can't, you know, rockets like, you know, land back down, or why can't, you know, like, there must be a more efficient way to do things. And he asked himself like, oh, why must electric cars be so expensive? Why must electric cars, you know, only be able to drive at a certain speed, only have a certain amount of fuel? Why are electric cars like too expensive to manufacture? So he broke everything down, and that's how he reverse engineered to build Tesla and SpaceX, you know, to its current success story. So that's a really powerful example of, you know, first principles thinking. And we can literally go on for days and days and days now. But this video is just to introduce you. There'll be many other videos that's more in depth. This is just an introductory, so hope this helps, and talk to you in the next one.